Hello and greetings with peace, unity, light, and love. Before beginning, allow me please to address an issue raised by a woman who came for a non-duality retreat here recently. She reported that during her years of seeking, she had visited many different sites that provided threads of ongoing discussions regarding a variety of non-dual topics, and she found it ironic that on sites that were claiming to be offering to put people in touch with peace and bliss, that she read so many what she called blistering attacks by some who were reporting that one writer or another was totally ignorant about non-duality. She asked what that was about. I suggested that part of the root of the misunderstandings about non-duality can be illustrated with the ancient tale about several blind men who are each trying to touch an elephant and then formulate a description of elephants in general, although each is only able to touch one part of the elephant that's quite different from the other parts being touched by the other men. The same applies to non-duality, because some do not understand that there are 5 very basic but different methods of teaching. And so those who have only been exposed to, say, the traditional method might believe that their view alone is the only accurate view of non-duality, while those exposed to the teachings offered by a direct path teacher might feel the same about their view of non-duality. In other words, they're only seeing a part of the story sometimes, as the men with the elephant. The point is, if you hear something on any of the videos on this site that are contrary to what you've been taught, please understand this. There's no one here that has any beliefs. So there's certainly no one here that has any desire that you or anyone else adopt any new beliefs or any more beliefs. What is offered here is the understanding that has come via the direct path teaching method combined with the Nisarga Yoga. There's no effort here to solicit converts, and there's no effort here to try to teach persons more. What's offered here is merely the result of sharing what was finally found via the direct path method and the Nisarga Yoga combination. That may or may not work for others. As for trying to teach persons more, the view here is that in most cases persons have already learned far too much, and that what's actually called for in many cases is unlearning, if the consciousness is ever to be unblocked and restored to its originally pure state. Those who come here for retreats find that what's offered could best be called unteaching rather than teaching. So rather than trying to inspire more learning, all of the topics discussed in the videos here are merely pointers that are being offered for possible consideration. Now, if you can consider the 5 methods used to teach non-duality, you're going to see that some speak of taking a journey, while some suggest there's no journey to take at all. Those in the latter camp say, Floyd, there's nowhere to go, you're already that which you seek, be done with it. There's no debate with those in any of the other 4 camps. Here, however, that was not the full dosage of the ultimate medicine that was required to treat the ultimate sickness. If that alone had been all that was required to remove the blockages that were preventing the manifest consciousness from seeing truth and reality, then no more would have been sought. In that case, or in this case, it just so happened that wasn't enough. Here, as with most seekers who come here, there were actually 7 degrees of separation from truth and reality, and all 7 of those degrees or steps had to be addressed and removed. So, that said, some of the non-duality teachers that do write about a journey place the word journey in quotation marks, as is the case here. Next, there was a speck of consciousness called Maharaj that facilitated to a degree the movement here along a direct path, and Maharaj did speak of going. So what did he mean? Going from where to where? What did this so-called journey he spoke of entail? He said that to realize you must go back. He said that you must move back to the source in the exact same way by which you came, except in reverse order. And what did he mean by that? Your original nature was as awareness that was not aware of, resting, so to speak, in that pool of specialized energy called the Absolute. It is only if that energy manifests as consciousness that conscious ofness and aware ofness can happen. It is when that energy becomes conscious of itself and its original nature that aware ofness happens during the manifestation. So the coming in part of this so-called journey that Maharaj spoke of points to the movement of that energy from the absolute field of energy and into what he called a body come consciousness, that is, a body with consciousness. So why then do some teach that a journey is necessary? After the manifestation of consciousness in an elemental plant food body, there begins early on among humans a process of blocking the consciousness by way of programming and conditioning and domestication and acculturation. In that process, there's this movement away from the original pure condition of the pre-programming and preconditioning consciousness that moves people through 7 degrees of separation from reality by assigning false identities, by developing a fiction-filled mind, and by eventually reducing persons to body identification. The so-called journey of going back, which Maharaj spoke of, is this movement in consciousness by which one can reverse in what is a required stepwise fashion to the original unblocked state of the consciousness. Because there were 7 steps through which the consciousness passed while coming in, and then being limited to identifying with a physical body, then being free of that false belief and finding the answer to who or what am I really, also requires completing the same 7 steps, but in reverse. For example, if one walks 7 steps into a dark forest, then one can turn and walk back 7 steps to be out of the dark forest. The same applies to moving beyond the darkness and into the enlightened state of full awareness. That is, having this full awareness of one's original nature, which allows the remainder of the manifestation to happen in the free and peaceful original state. It's been said accurately that the main problem of humanity centers in the mind. How did that come to be the case? And how can the journey back to the original no-mind state be the ultimate medicine that might treat the ultimate sickness? The original nature of the consciousness prior to manifestation, that is, awareness that was not yet aware of, was this. It was unbound, limitless, expansive, spacious, roomy, sprawling, vast, unfettered, unrestrained, and therefore moving about freely. When that energy manifested in plants and was transferred to human bodies come consciousness, it was robbed of its original nature. See, manifested consciousness becomes bound up, limited, confined, cramped, overcrowded, restricted, fettered, restrained, and thus no longer able to move about freely. Later, it would be robbed even more of its originally pure and unconditional and unconditioned nature by way of programming, conditioning, domestication, acculturation, indoctrination, brainwashing, etc. In that condition, it longed to be free once more, comparable to a child's desire to return to the more familiar and more comfortable womb notion that some psychologists discuss. Whether trapped within the confines of a plant, an acorn, a tree, a dog, a roach, a cat, a rat, a bird, a deer, or a human, the confined conscious energy would escape, so to speak, and return to its one true original nature and then once again be unbound, limitless, expansive, spacious, roomy, sprawling, vast, unfettered, unrestrained, and therefore once again moving about freely.